What's going on, everybody? Y'all already know the vibes, man. And yes, before the video starts, before I even get into it, I know I look beat. Okay, long day streaming. It's 3 a.m. and I'm bringing y'all this video. That's just because I love y'all. So just don't worry about how I look. Let's worry about the video. Okay. And today, guys, we're talking top 5 players in stage 2. Okay, so this has no relevance to how they played in stage 1. We're only talking about the top 5 Cold War players during stage 2, and we're going to get into it right now. You guys already know how I do it. Before we get into the top 5, because there were a lot of really good players in this stage, I just want to give a shout out to a couple honorable mentions, okay, where I wanted to give them a top 5 spot, but I just couldn't. And those players are Formal, Dashy, and the player who got stage 2 player of the stage in Toronto Ultra's Bance. And I know y'all might be thinking, how the hell, if Bance got player of the stage, how is he not in your top 5? Well, he played fantastic. Okay, he played absolutely lights out in the major, but we're talking the whole stage here. Okay, even the regular season part of it. Okay, not just the major itself. And as much as I want to put him in the top 5 because I think he played so damn well, he, improved tremendously throughout the whole stage, especially when you compare it to stage 1. But it's just hard to put him above these guys that I have on the actual list. Starting at number 5, though, guys, I have Minnesota Rockers' new young gun, the kid who just completely transformed this Minnesota team, and that is none other than the little homie Standy. Before Standy, Minnesota was looking like they could easily have been the worst team in the league, and he just completely transformed this team, guys. Standy helped this Minnesota team beat teams like Optic, like Empire. He helped them make a run in the major. Obviously they didn't win, but from being bottom of the barrel previously to beating all these top teams and placing 4th in the major, you have to give him some respect right away. But this kid literally was doing it all on the map. Throughout stage 2, Standy had an overall KD of a 1.06. He does run a sub. He is a SMG player for Minnesota. But I just want to kind of break down how important he is to this team. Hardpoint was Minnesota's worst game mode, and it probably still is, but they were really bad at it. I mean, you basically weren't even getting a hardpoint win out of them in a series before Standy came into the lineup. And while he did only have a 1.01 hardpoint KD throughout all of stage 2, which also he didn't play in every single match. They did start 0-2 in stage 2 before he got called up to the starting lineup. But he actually helped turn them into a team that was a free dub in hardpoint, to a team that will actually compete against every team in the league, even the best hardpoint teams in the game. And it was just his pressure. He opened up the map so much. Having Priest to switch to that flex, him and Attach seemed to be a very good sub duo, but his just overall pace helped Minnesota out so much. That was their biggest issue for me, and I got to give it to him. I think he is definitely a top 5 player in the game right now. Even if you don't care for his stats, I think just how you look at how much he transformed this team, you have to realize that he is a serious issue on the map, and he is a very consistent player. I was a little worried about how he was going to play, but he didn't really have a bad series. Like, he was consistently doing his thing, going off, having those big plays, and it was awesome to see, because I love all the boys on Minnesota, and I hope they keep improving from here on out. And for number 4, this is a name, if you guys watch my channel, I've said it multiple times in my top 5 videos. It is MC, the homie CELLIUM, the flex player for the Atlanta FaZe. And he actually had a ridiculous stage 2. Throughout the whole stage 2, he had a 1.17 overall KD across all game modes. In hardpoint specifically, he had a 1.19 KD, and he had just under 23 kills per 10 minutes in hardpoint, which put him amongst some of the best players in the world when it comes to that stat. But this guy's just a menace. He's everywhere. I know I said he's a flex. He can run any gun. CELLIUM is one of the most versatile players in Call of Duty right now, and he's just proving it every map, every series. When it comes to control, I believe he had the best control KD throughout all of stage 2 with a 1.24. That is damn good, considering that is the whole stage 2, my man was constantly going off in control, and he also averaged just under 22 kills per 10 minutes in control, putting him at number 4 on that list. His only downfall throughout the whole stage, guys, was SND. But if we're being honest here, that was all of FaZe's downfall. They went from, in my opinion, the best SND team in the game, very average at it. And I don't understand the reason why, but that's a topic for a whole different video. But even so, his SND KD wasn't horrible for the whole stage. It was a 0.9. It wasn't great. It wasn't, I guess, what you're expecting out of a player like CELLIUM, but it happens. You know, like I said, their whole team seemed to be struggling with SND in this stage. I think that was the reason why they lost the major to Toronto. They got absolutely bodied when it came to the controls, but more specifically, the SNDs. Toronto was just on a whole different level. And like I said, it was weird because you wouldn't expect that out of a player like CELLIUM, out of a team like FaZe, but it happens. And maybe they need to go back. They need to reinvent their S&D because people have caught up, or maybe people are hard countering them. Who knows? You know, there could be a lot of factors going into it, but he still deserves a top 5 spot. I mean, the kid has been lights out throughout all of stage 2. And even though the major didn't go their way, he went off. He did his thing, and you gotta give respect. Yeah, they didn't win. They got outplayed in the finals, but he was doing his thing. And at the end of the day, they still got 2nd place, guys. Okay, they got 2nd in the major. Moving on to number 3, though, guys, we have a Toronto Ultra player. This is a new name, a player that you guys probably have never heard me say before, and it is Insight, the Toronto Ultra main AR. This is the player that they called up for Methods to run that main AR role. And I'll be honest, at first I was very skeptical because I thought Methods was playing solid. I didn't think Methods was the one that should have gotten benched, but I don't know as much info as the guys on Toronto do because they play with each other every day. They know what happens internally, and I don't. But so I was skeptical at first, but Insight proved me and everyone else wrong because he had a fantastic stage 2. He had the 4th best overall KD in the league, which obviously as that main AR player, you would expect him to have a pretty good KD if he's doing his thing. You know, if his team is doing well and whatnot, they're having success, because the main AR role is going to be a little bit slower. You're going to be able to get a lot more freer kills, easier kills, right? He had a 1.12 overall KD throughout the entirety of stage 2. He had just under 22.5 kills per 10 minutes of hardpoint, which puts him amongst the best. And he also had a 1.16 hardpoint KD, which marks him at number 4 in that category. Okay, now hardpoint wasn't Toronto's best game mode by any means throughout the stage, but I think he at least made them more consistent at it, right? It's not their bread and butter. Okay, they didn't rely on the hardpoints, but they weren't a slouch either. There wasn't a free win when it came to hardpoint versus them. And I think he was a big factor that, you know, I don't know if maybe he brought the vibes up on the team from Methods or whatnot. You know, I don't necessarily think he improved their pacing by that much, but he made everyone else on his team look great. And I don't know if that was just a coincidence or he's doing something different from Methods, but it clearly was working. S&D is really where Insight shined though, guys. He ended stage 2 number 1 overall in S&D KD with a 1.56 throughout the stage. He damn near averaged 1 kill per round, and he also had just under 18% first blood percentage. And this is Toronto's bread and butter, guys. They were the best S&D team in stage 2. It was one of the main reasons why they won the major, and he was a huge factor in that. That is definitely something that he was an upgrade to Toronto compared to Methods when it came to S&D. And you gotta wonder if that was one of the reasons why they did it. I mean, I thought they were a very solid S&D team even with Methods, but Insight made them dominant. And then coming in number 2, guys, I'm throwing you a little curveball because normally I would have him at number 1. I think there's a new number 1. I think there is. But before we get that far, the number 2 is SIMP. Now, SIMP did have the highest overall KD throughout stage 2 with a 1.19. Nothing surprising there because the kid just does it all. Specifically, when it came to hardpoint, he had the best hardpoint KD with a 1.3. That sounds so crazy because this was his average throughout the whole stage, a 1.3 KD in hardpoint, and he also had the most kills per 10 minutes in hardpoint. But like CELLIUM and the rest of FaZe, his KD was very bad at this stage, and I don't know why. Because specifically SIMP is an SND kid. He came from the SND scene. He only had a 0.79, so something was off with the whole team because the whole team had below 1. And that more specifically is shocking to me. You know that idiom where it's like, there's 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and whatever. Well, that number 3 would be SIMP having over a 1.0 KD in SND, because I think this is the first time that he hasn't had a 1.0 or at least a 1.0 in SND. And I think it was a one-off. I think the whole team just played poorly in stage 2, but I don't really want to touch on that too much because SIMP is still one of the best SND players in the game. And I think it's just a team issue. They weren't on the same page, and in a game mode like SND, if that happens, it's going to be very hard to perform. And then when it comes to control, guys, he had a 1.21 KD, and he also had just over 24 kills per 10 minutes, putting him at number 2 behind his teammate ABEZY in that category. But SIMP is a guaranteed top 5 right now. Like, he just is. When you watch him play, I'm a SIMP stan, and I know I gas him up in every top 5, like the last couple that I've had that he's played in. But the kid is special. He's a generational talent. He's a very smart player. I can't talk good enough about him. But he doesn't get number 1 because number 1 is his teammate, and it is a new number 1 that will be ABEZY. I think ABEZY was the best player in stage 2. I do. Throughout the entire stage 2, ABEZY went off. I mean, I think this is the first time where he's really starting to get the respect he deserves. And people think he's great. They do. But he's normally in SIMP shadow, and, you know, it's hard not to be when your sub duo is a player like SIMP. But ABEZY did his thing in stage 2. He really did. He had a 1.14 overall KD throughout the entire stage. He also averaged over 25 kills per 10 minutes in hardpoint, putting him at number 1 for that. I mean, he is the entry fragger for FaZe, and having those good of stats while you're that guy, he's the most aggressive player in the league. He's popping 2 pieces, 3 pieces when it comes to the hardpoint, opening up lanes, like breaking hills by himself, you know, going on those crazy streaks that really just kind of puts the dagger in the other team when it comes to hardpoint. Hardpoint was one of their best modes throughout stage 2. SND, though, I could talk about it. Once again, it wasn't that great. It was the best on his team, and it wasn't horrible. He had a 0.94 KD. He had one of, I think, the highest, if not the highest, first blood percentages, but it wasn't anything that stands out. I think the one important thing that we need to talk about here is the fact that he did have one of the best. I don't know if it was the best. I think there was someone else who had a better first blood percentage than him, but he was doing his job in SND. He was getting those bloods. Maybe he wasn't able to play his life as much, or maybe getting those first bloods weren't translating into a round win, but he was still doing his job for the most part. Okay, he was a consistent player, damn near 1.0. Can't go wrong with that. And then when it comes to control, guys, he had a 1.13 control KD throughout the stage, and he also had just over 24 kills per 10 minutes in control, putting him at number 1 in that category as well. So not only did he have the number 1 kills per 10 minutes in hardpoint, he also had it in control while having a relatively good KD in both of those modes. And KD isn't everything. I know that. Okay, I preach that. But the fact a player in his role with his play style, that means that he is getting the kills and also being able to play his life. So that means he's able to position himself correctly to get those kills and not overextend, you know, over peak, over challenge, whatever the case may be, and kind of, you know, not capitalize off the kills he's getting. He was a major reason why this FaZe team was so dominant at respawn throughout the stage. And you got to show him some love. You do. You have a phenomenal team with CELLIUM, SIMP, and RCDs, okay? And it's easy to kind of fall to the back with those players. But ABEZY stood out, man. I think he was the best player on FaZe in stage 2. I think he was the best player in stage 2. So this was tough, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you agree with my list or you think I'm absolutely fucking wrong and you would have completely different top 5. And if you do, Like I said, let me know in the comment section below. The kid is out. It is 3 a.m. I need to get some sleep. I'm gonna catch y'all when I catch y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace.